I've pulled a lot of insights from like reports across the industry and different things like this just to back up what I'm saying. And also when I was voice noting a lot of this, it's a lot of the things that we're actually struggling with right now or we're seeing. So the whole goal is pretty much to go through a bit about like the economics of like CAC and which is or CPA, whatever you kind of want to call it, which is cost per acquisition of converting a customer, and then going through our frameworks, site speed, voice of customer, into like subscriptions and CAC as well, the LTV, bundles, offers, landers, different types of audiences and what they react best with, and then how your guys' system and service can actually feed into what we do. Okay, so to start all of this, I think what's quite interesting here is like acquisition has never been more expensive for brands, and the only thing our team and me can affect is your acquisition, right? We were even talking to a client today and he was like, oh, we've got a new in-house like retention person. He's already improved retention metrics, he's already improved like cancellation flows, and like he's saving us $1,000 a day and all of these things. So LTV can be affected by what you guys do, but what we can mainly affect is new customer acquisition. Okay, so our goal has to be, what changes can you make on the site, on the funnel, that are going to improve new customer acquisition? See, everything else apart from that, it doesn't really matter, because there's so many things in this. Now, what I think people get wrong with CRO is everyone talks about it in silos. And what I mean by that is like conversion rate's a website problem, like average order value is a website problem. Like I actually think website has about 30 to 40% of the effect of your metrics, but most of it comes from creatives, and most of it comes from things like the bigger percentage of that block would be offer, copy, and positioning. That's what I think it comes down to in e-com. Now, realistically, acquisition's never been more expensive, and that's actually a real stat right there. 40 to 60% rise in CAC since 2023, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Loads of things come into that, iOS, all of these other things. But another stat is revenue per visitor, which I'm gonna touch on. I believe in it and I don't believe in it sometimes. I think it's very much to do with the type of brand you're running. But
Paddy, can you explain to everyone just what revenue per visitor means as well, just for
yeah, I'm gonna touch on that now. In it's right down here, so I'll explain this now. Everything that I touch on at the start, I'll flow through. So good question, but I'll touch on that now. As I said, conversion rate on itself is no longer the goal. If we just obsessed over conversion rate, we would just tell a brand, lower your costs or lower your price and run a 60% off. That's all well and good, but what is your average order value? What's your profitability? So when people talk about CRO, like they don't realize that we literally can't do things without knowing your numbers. Like if we start playing around with an offer and you're not profitable, if you run that offer for long enough, you're literally going to run out of money. So like it really does affect your bank account. Like we affect your bank account. I think it's important for us to realize that. And our job is really to convert cold audience, so cold acquisition, while improving the overall revenue per visitor of a funnel, and then trying to improve the LTV. Now, the LTV comes from subscriptions, and then realistically, how good is your product? If you have a shit product, nobody's going to stay for long. Okay, so I'm commenting on a lot of this because it's relevant, right? So acquisition cost is claimed, and the advantage to brands is that we still have to convert customers. Now, I think what people have realized is the relevance between creative to landing page to retention. And what our two businesses should be doing together is, and I'm going to touch on this down the line, but if we run a copywriting test and the copy wins on a homepage, a product page, a collection page, that is a page that all of the audience sees. If we run a lander that's specific to an avatar and then we test a copy on that landing page and it wins, that's copy relevant to that avatar. Okay, so that's two different things. One's evergreen, everyone sees it. One, you get more specific to the avatar. How that ties into what you guys should be doing is you should know and be told, and this is maybe a systems thing, but the CRO people should be telling you wins, and you guys can affect CRO by telling them what emails perform the best. So if you, not like an offer email or anything like that, because I don't think that's as relevant. I think that's very, very warm traffic. But if you're writing educational emails or more so campaigns, how, or even the welcome flow really, what wording are you using, and what is like the open rates of a better performing headline or preview text or whatever it is you want to kind of go by. That should be brought to us, because that's all insights into a customer. And what I think goes missing in all of this is we're literally just building a system which we run tests to learn about what the customer reacts best to. Okay, don't forget about that. The only thing we're all doing right here is converting a certain type of customer. So who is that person? And that's what we're trying to find out the most. Okay, so if I just go through it here, the biggest levers of CRO on cold acquisition is offer, copy, and positioning. Don't worry about anything else. No fancy design, no fancy UX, UI. Offer, copy, and positioning is key. And what's one of the highest performing email campaigns usually? That maybe it's kind of run out of fashion, but plain text, founder emails, those types of things. Okay, so my point is completely proven just by that alone. Copy and positioning and offer is the most important. And having that sort of touch base with a founder is obviously important. Now, if you just go through some of these things, that take some of this with a pinch of salt, because this is like research site like worldwide, but supplements are the most expensive vertical on cost per acquisition, because health risks, shutdowns on Meta, all of these things. It's also one of the most competitive landscapes there is. So our goal is to try and reduce that metric, but how we can only reduce that metric, which is cost to acquire a customer basically, or cost per acquisition, whatever you kind of want to call it, is by improving the offer that they see when they click through to the ad. So it's the ad to the lander. That's the only thing we can affect. But people actually forget that we can affect that. Okay. Now, what you'll also notice is, I always say to the team, a subscription customer is around 2.8 times LTV than a one-time purchase customer. Now, you could turn around like a client did today and ask, but is that because people forget? It's probably part of it, but the main thing is they're in a completely different mindset, that they're willing to subscribe because they're taking the product on a recurring basis. They use it every day, like a sachet or shampoo or something. There's going to be different frequencies that matter for each of them. We don't need to get into that, but subscriptions do work, okay? And subscriptions is the hardest part to get in. And we're having it right now with some brands where they've scaled without subscriptions. Remember, you can do that. And I think people are getting lost in that in the world of e-com at the minute, where people are obsessing over subscriptions when bundling and a solid offer up front, collecting cash, can get you really, really far. And we're trying to introduce a subscription offer with a client right now, and their CAC just keeps spiraling right out of control every time subscriptions added into the widget of the PDP. Okay, now I'm telling you all of this because it's going to be relevant to what we go through. Okay, so the 4 levers that matter really right now is like AOV expansion. Now, I feel like, has anyone ever seen the bell meme curve, or the bell curve meme, where it's like fuck around and find out? Well, it's like fuck around so much with AOV that like you find out, and conversion rate. I think there's this like little peak in e-com where AOV can only go so high before acquisition falls off a cliff. So it's kind of like fuck around with AOV until you get it to a certain level where it's not going from $40 to $200. How many people are paying $200 on a first order? Very little. So there's this fine balance between like average order value and conversion rate. Like, where is that balance? There's no real right answer. But if you push average order value up and you don't give a fuck about conversion rate, you're going to have a massive problem down the line. Okay. So it's trying to, we're in this level. It's like, what should my AOV be? What should my conversion rate be? Buddy, I don't really know your product or your metrics, so I can't really give you one answer. Do you know? So you have to try and like, we have to try and find this balance between like a brand really obsessed with conversion rate and obsessed with average order value. And like when we are running split tests, we have to keep in mind that for us to keep this brand, we kind of have to please them with what they want as well. So if it was up to me, should always be trying to get the fine balance between AOV, a fine balance between cash collected up front, so a 30-day offer, a 60-day offer, a 90-day offer, and then trying to find a steer on this, which Adam asked to basically explain what revenue per visitor is. Revenue per visitor is basically conversion rate and average order value, technically also divided by like sessions or visitors. So you have to try and work this out where it's like, you see all these metrics like £2.80 is their revenue per visitor, but I still think just saying that metric alone explains nothing. So you kind of have to take them all with a pinch of salt. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, Paddy, so this is all good stuff. Just in terms of the AOV expansion, cash collecting upfront, and what was the last thing you had as well? Just even those two, like for our bunch here, like how would you say from your experience we could impact that the most? Like off the top of my dome, you could probably switch out what the welcome offer is to gear them towards those, like, let's say, higher cash upfront offers. So yeah, can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so like we're looking at this a lot more now, because obviously if we're just focusing on acquisition, you've still got that post-purchase funnel. Now, post-purchase funnel for us is thank you page and order status page. We let you guys handle whatever that is, post-purchase flow. Now, you can affect average order value and cash collected by, for example, let's look at it, right? Someone comes in on a 30-day one-time purchase, okay? Push them into a 30-day subscription. Someone comes in on a 30-day subscription, upsell them into a 90-day subscription where they're paying for 90 days of supply up front and subscribing to 90 days. Okay. You can push someone into, they only bought, and it's very specific to one brand, but they only bought a shampoo. Why not upsell them a conditioner as a set with a small discount? So it's like, it's trying to see for that brand specifically, how can you test a better offer? And realistically, the last one is like Zamo. Like, how can you push a one-click upsell into a subscription? And we actually were just talking to a brand about this today, at 2 brands actually. It's like you can push people more into subscription. Now, realistically, you have to know the maths behind that though. And I think this is where you guys need to become more to the CRO e-com side of like, does the brand want them to be a subscriber? Is like the mathematics actually right if they subscribe? Like you guys are going to be limited like us, where it's like you have to get approval for offers, don't you? So it's very difficult, but they're the sort of ways I would be trying to set it, where it's like, for example, one of our brands is really dialed in with analytics and their books with eClarity. eClarity is the econ, like, I don't know how you can call me, accountancy firm or whatever. And they are looking at every time someone was given a free small like serum, they were 40 to 50% more likely to, like, they had a 40 to 50% longer LTV or some sort of metric that they brought to us. So now we inserted that into the first order. They get it for free.
Like, guys, this is all data as well that's like readily available to us inside Hiro as well. In particular, if you go to, I don't know, does anyone remember what it is, but where you can see like what products are leading to the highest LTV, maybe somebody knows. And also that's a very good point about like pushing people from the 30-day subscription to potentially a 90-day. So if anyone, you know, for those managing subscription brands here, like that's a very good point. Like we can't just assume that like once someone is on a 30-day subscription that like that's like the most optimal, you know. And I think like that's very easy to set that up in a post-purchase flow or whatever you want to call it, by just having like a conditional split based off of like the delivery frequency that customer has chosen. So
yeah,
that's good stuff.
100%. And like it is very much data relevant. But again, like if you guys upselled something, and it worked, like bring that to the front end too. But it might not work in the front end. So there's a lot of like ifs and buts and maybes here. But I have a lot here, so I'm gonna fly through some of this. This is our framework right here. On like a really zoomed out perspective. I've used this for like 2 years, basically to describe how we do split tests. This is a really zoomed out perspective. And then the next one is like our framework of like the audience. I always say to the team, like if we had no access to zero analytics, you could run a CRO program. Like you can run a CRO program just by obsessing over the audience. So what this basically is it's analyzing, ideating, and then setting up the experiment. So the analyzing is obviously the most important. Now, I go down this in a few slides, but people are obsessing over avatars and personas and all these things you see at the minute. Like we have a framework that we look at, which explains an avatar literally like it's Mary 52, shops here, lives by this, buys this, goes into so many details. But the main thing about an avatar is like, don't go too specific where you're talking about only a 52-year-old who does certain things and you create a page and you create creatives for her. if anybody else from an ad lands on a landing page or a copy or a website that isn't specific to them and only specific to this person, they're not going to buy. So you have to have a fine balance between like researching your audience members so deeply that when you create a page, you know they'll convert, but remember that there's more than just her available in the market. And the target audience will get so slim if you only go for a certain type of person, let's say. Now, that'll make more sense down the line when I explain a few other things. But what we like to do is split it between quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. So this is where you guys are going to get the most value. You don't even need to understand how to read a heat map. You don't need to understand how to read like anything. What you could simply do is ask the client, do they have Microsoft Clarity, and go and literally watch someone use a website. And like you'll find that they get stuck somewhere. They don't understand something. They get to a certain page and they drop off. Like there's simple things you can look for. But within all of this, this is where the most data is. Literally just understanding your audience deep enough where every single piece of copy you guys write is dialed in. So website reviews, I think you guys do this anyways, but review analysis, survey analysis. So post-purchase surveys is one of the most underutilized. I don't understand why brands don't use them. Set up a survey and literally ask them, why are you buying from us today? Why did you buy from us and not a competitor? What are you most looking forward to with our brand? And then some other question that's maybe relevant. If you just ask that question, you will literally get paragraphs from people. Paragraphs as to why they're buying or why they don't want to buy or whatever. You could also ask them, was there anything that nearly stopped you from buying today? And they could tell you a common objection. And then you take all those surveys, read it yourself, because AI is normally that shit at like, you know, edit, like transcripting them. Read it yourself, read the reviews and see like the most common used words, most common used phrases. And this right here, which is surveys, reviews, meta ad comments, or the best winning angle of creatives, or best winning angle of emails, messaging on the site, certain like reviews and like different things about other competitors. Okay, so people forget that. You can look at competitor analysis and build a bank of data who this audience is. And people talk about avatars, but I would classify a brand's customer as one big avatar itself. Once you know that, you know what triggers them, what they hate, what they like, what education do they need. And what we're seeing right now, and I've always kind of said this, is brands forget that you need to educate people before they buy a product. You need to handle objections. What's the key common thing brands leave out across emails and websites and landing pages? Does anyone have an idea? It wasn't what I said there. So we talk about education, objection handling. Does anyone know the other thing that brands always tend to like? They just have a little widget in the site, but they don't actually double down on. Does anyone have an idea? Very vague question, but I just want to see.
FAQs?
FAQs are key, yeah. But you can handle, FAQs would handle objections, education. What's the other thing that's going to make someone convert, really?
Other products people like similar products or whatever.
So that would be cross-sell. So I wouldn't say that'll help them convert. I would rather my team not have answered that, but yeah, social proof. So brands either do two things. They obsess over education and they forget about social proof, or they obsess over social proof and they forget about education. Who has bought from a site with no reviews? Anyone? Who has bought from a site that has like one review? Who has bought from a site that was fucking hammered with social proof that you're like, Jesus Christ, this must be a miracle, or this fucking must work. It has to work. All right, so we all know in our heads, without getting into the nitty gritty, there's certain fundamentals that just matter way more than anything else. Educate the customer on what the product is, okay? What the brand is. Remember, the brand has a bit of education. So founder stories, why us, what's our ingredient, unique mechanisms matter, okay? But social proof everywhere will help you just make more money. Simple as that, right? So without any of the social proof, you need to have all of this as well. So when we do all of this analysis, we do this in a big batch of research. When you guys get a new customer, a new client, you probably do something similar, except what we do then is we ideate and we look at the niche. So if we're looking at the niche, older women, right? Let's just look at older women as an avatar in itself. Older women need more education. They believe other older women, don't they? They read it and they see other stories. And so if you have a client that sells to older women, hammer more reviews into the emails. Like, this can also be the same for landing pages, okay? So there's this, like, people forget that, you know, within CRO, it's like, where do you start? Where you do the analysis on the brand and the audience and the product, you look for the fundamentals that are missing. So if any of those sections I said are missing, the client's better actually just improving the baseline. I had an argument with another CRO agency on LinkedIn yesterday about this. And I basically just said, like, if the page is shite, how are you going to convert anyone with your little fancy tests? Like, you need to have a baseline of fundamentals there, right? So that's one thing. The second thing then is we ideate, we prioritize based off, as I said, does the brand want to increase AOV, conversion rate, subscription take rate? We have to prioritize our ideas to that. And then we say, how long is it going to take? How big of an uplift is it possible? And is it worth our time? Like, is it going to produce a big result? And then we put it into an experiment of copywriting, design, and then a similar fundamentals to you, development, et cetera, okay? Now, to fly through this, the last part of this is this part. What they say, what they see, what they click. I created this randomly when I went to do a talk in Miami at the start of the year, and it made me realize, like, if you just don't do these three things, you will be able to run a CRO program or landing page or whatever it is you want to do. What they say, so it's basically that diagram I showed you in just a simple fundamental. What they say, go through everything they say, literally create a voice of customer. So create a big document of how this person speaks about the brand, the words they use, the phrases they reuse, everything like that. It's all a trend. What they see, so are they landing on the homepage? What's the hero? What's the hero section? What's the first section? Are they landing on the PDP? A simple test, if you guys want to do this with a brand, is load the PDP and literally count 3 seconds, 3 second countdown, and then tell me what they sell and why you should buy it over a competitor. And if you can't do that and the offer isn't visible and the USPs that matter aren't there, they're not going to purchase. Okay. And that's a simple test you can literally say to yourself. It's just 3 seconds. Okay.
Same applies to email as well, to be fair. Like,
yeah,
if you're opening
exactly.
up an email, exact same thing.
CTAs, big fonts, big title, all that shit that kind of gets the click and whatever else. Now, this is one I used to think was a bit of bullshit, but I've actually went back on my own theory with this, and I'm very happy to admit when I'm wrong. But what if the site speed's really bad and we've the best landing pages on earth? Nobody's going to buy. They can't load the site. Like, they literally can't do anything. Okay? Google and Deloitte, this is actually quite interesting. Milliseconds make millions. I think that's a banger. It's a bit of a banger, even though Google and Deloitte are full of shit. Milliseconds make millions, right? 0.1 second improvement in mobile load lifted retail conversions 8.4%. I wouldn't believe the AOV thing, but 8.4% is interesting. This is another survey. Sites loading in 1 second convert roughly 2.5 times higher than sites loading in 5 seconds. Only around 39% of e-commerce sites pass all 3 web core vitals. Third-party apps are the hidden tax, right? So tell me, someone in this call, who's going to produce a banging offer or do anything else on the website as easy as just fixing site speed that's going to lift the conversions by 2.5% of your client? Has anyone got a secret spell apart from maybe reducing the price down? No, nobody does. Okay, so fix, like, I see people get so fixated on, like, fancy techniques and all this bullshit. Like, fix the fundamental. Social proof, educate, objection handle, fix the site speed. Okay, what's next? I bet you if you do all those things, you're probably going to have a way better site than most people. Okay? Now, this is one that we've started to do, and Yuri is on this call, I think. Yuri is one of our main devs. And what we've started to do with widgets is subscription widgets are a load of shit. Subscription widgets are actually really, really bad for websites, because me and Kirsty were on a call today, and the client loaded their website in front of us to show us something. And have you ever seen the little circle loading screen? Well, if you load one of your client's sites while screen sharing, you'll see the widget of the subscription loads. The rest of the page is loaded, and the subscription widget just does a wee circle, like, sort of emotion. What we've started to do now is we build that natively into the site. The back end is the subscription widget, but the front end is coded in, and it naturally loads like that. And we done this for a brand called Kiko Vitals. And we also improved their site speed in other areas, and their conversion rate went up 30%. We've never done this before with anyone else. It went up 30%. So you tell me what you're going to do tomorrow that's going to lift the conversion rate 30%. Probably nothing. So simple fundamental, right? So it's like start with the basics, okay? So that's kind of done. Now, voice of customer audit, what we like to do is kind of mine this into like a massive batch of copy. So mined customer language is basically all it is. And what you can do is rewrite copy based off what the audience uses in their wording. Now you'll hear brands talk about like, oh, that's not on brand, that's not this, that's not that. Like, right, that's fine. But like, does your on brand copy convert as well as what the customer's literally telling us? And like, we deal with this on the regular. They're actually more protective about websites than anything else. Creatives, emails, anything. They don't care as much as they do about what goes on live in their website. It's as if it's this like thing that's just like they have to protect it all their life. But if we've ever talked on brand, like you guys are working on it, aren't you? And we work on it. They wouldn't let us change copy. Well, we just produce pages anyways, and they're working. And their shit like on site, on brand copy doesn't work. So it's like, we have a job to do here as service people. Like we have a job to do. You have to try and fight that balance between like on brand versus like your customers are literally saying these words. Why are we not using them? So that's just a little bit of that's maybe a bit of a leadership thing I just told you. But yeah, Adam can have the final say in that one. But that's what I would say, and that's what I tell our team as well, right? So basically, never reinvent customer language. Just use what's already there and what we're already doing. Okay. Now, a few of you asked some of these questions, and I don't think we're going to have time to go through everything, but subscriptions is a really tough one because we've brands on 60 or 70% 70% subscription take rate, but their conversion rate is 1.2%. Okay. So what is their goal? Like what is their goal? Like they're telling us that they want a better conversion rate, but their subscription take rate 70%. So our subscription offer is working, but then people would say you have a conversion rate problem. So it's like, what is the business goal here? Now, how we got a subscription take rate is the language. The language has to be about ritual, continuously taking it. All the research says this. There's only a certain timeline you can take this product before you see benefits. Subscribe and save's a better offer. We're seeing a massive improvement with gifts per month. So gifts on first order, second order, third order, and that usually will improve things dramatically. So little things like that are working really well. You guys can affect LTV there massively, but just in terms of conversion, you know, there's a lot of things that you have to communicate. Like, for example, older audience, what do they not like? And I'm going to kind of just jump down to this. Older audience, let me see if I can find this because I know we're running out of time. Older audience, okay, reliability, trust. They love to see other people's reviews. What they also like is flexibility. They hate being locked into things. They think everything's a scam. Okay, so you have to over communicate flexibility. And what's really interesting is we're talking about this with a client and they're getting their retention team to do this. So how you guys can bring this in is just over communicate flexibility. One-click cancellations, like make it very easy for them to actually get out of it, but then over explain what a subscription is. Okay, now for landing pages, this matters the most. Okay, this is like so important, where people just throw a reviews widget on the site and think that it's good. But Emil on this call ran a test the other week where we had 3 reviews. We had a review slider on the above the fold of the PDP, and we tested 3 different reviews. One was focused on some. Emil, do you remember what the 3 they were focused on?
Yeah, guys. Yeah, so we looked at the research on what the customers were really resonating with most. So we had one review that was focused, sorry, so supplement brand, and one review was focused on focus, and how your brain focuses. One was focused on energy, and the other one was focused on like the morning argument with your kid and getting them to take a supplement. So we ran a test where we had a carousel which highlighted those 3 focuses That was first. And then what we did is we ran another test which switched the orders. So which one is displayed on load? We found that there were some of the messages that resonated a heck of a lot more, and conversions increased by between 20 and 30% on the most prominent ones.
Yeah. So does anyone know how we would have got that information? What did I talk about at the start that you start with? The research. So if you don't do the research, you know none of this. None of this matters. So you have to research the avatar, see what matters to them the most. What is their desires? What is their pain points? What is their problems? And when you load a landing page or a PDP, I should see copy that's really relevant to my scenario, the benefits of the product, not features. Features is a unique mechanism. Okay, so unique mechanism is important. Like if I sell electrolytes, what's the milligrams and why is it mixed with creatine? Or what is that unique mechanism? How can you change that into like a reason that this product works and not others? But people forget that copy resonates the most. And we've just pulled people's literal reviews and what they talked about us and put them at the top of the fold, guys. Okay, so like it all starts with research. Social proof is probably number 2 in the whole thing of like importance. So hammer reviews across your entire page, UGC videos, maybe like a scripted video. Maybe you have like a fucking founder video in there. Put a list of reviews. Have your reviews at the bottom. Have like placed reviews across the page. Like insert it everywhere. Have you ever landed in those like older woman PT sort of pages and it's like review, video, review, some little explanation, and then it just does that for like an endless scroll. Like no wonder they make money. They don't even need to explain what they do. The review says enough. So like don't lose the fundamentals of like old e-commerce and like old funnels. All they done was created a product that really appealed to the audience. They explained the benefits. They tapped into what doesn't work and why theirs works. They broke down the pain points and they broke down the objections of the people by giving them the information. And then they smashed reviews everywhere to just showcase the social proof. And what's the last thing they get them with? A no-brainer offer. Okay, and I know people have questions and we're over time here, but I can go for another 5 minutes here just very quickly. But the offer is something people were asking about, and like what we're seeing the most right now working is quantity offers. So like volume discounts. So like buy 1, buy 2, get 10% off, buy 3, get 15% off. That works really well with like t-shirts, for example, or something like that. But what we're also doing is like, remember, we're doing buy 1, then we're doing buy 1, get 1 free, and then you're doing like buy 2, get 2 free. Does anyone realize that like they're the exact same offer? The wording is just changed. Like that is, you're literally giving them 1 product, 2 product, 3 product, 4 product, but you're changing the wording. And we call that value proposition. Basically, we're not value proposition, sorry, like value stacking. So value stacking is making it sound in our audience's head that they're getting more value than they're paying for. So buy 2, get 10% off. You know, buy 1, get 1 free is basically the exact same thing. You just fickle with the price. So like an offer is just about how you position that to the audience. And some people aren't going to understand it. Some people are. And if you look here, you can do like a buy 1, get 1. You can do a buy 2, get 1 free plus free gifts. Then what you can do is to incentivize a higher AOV, you can do like a buy 2, get 2 free plus 2 free gifts. An easy free gift is like, for example, we're selling like gut supplements. Why don't you just make like a 10-page recipe book for like healthy gut recipes and just test it and give it to them and see, does that increase the value? Because they're going to pay the exact same amount of money, but they're getting a free digital guide, which costs the brand nothing. And it's a digital, you guys will email it to them. So you can have the difference between free gifts and like physical gifts. Physical gifts only work if the low COGS matter. So our client today was telling us that to give 6 free sachets away, it's $1.30. Okay, that's doable. But what if you give like a free shaker away and the shaker costs you $4? That's $4 eaten into your margin every single order, and it's not good enough. Only if you test it, it increases the conversion rate by like 20%, and then you can offset cost to conversions, and that's a whole nother story. But that's a good way to also look at it. As I said here, framing matters. Free shipping thresholds. I was telling the team about this the other day. Has anyone actually ever heard of actual order value and not average order value? Has anyone ever heard of that? So a really interesting thing to do is go into your client's orders and download their orders, and then export it and ask for the common. So it's a common order value. Sorry, so it's a common order value. What you'll notice is, like, if my store is $35 AOV, that's an average of every order. But the common order value could be like 31 something, because those random high orders are just like increasing the AOV massively. If my common order value is like $31, why would I put a free shipping threshold at like 50 when nobody's going to reach that apart from like 2% of my audience? So you can be smart with like shipping thresholds where you want to incentivize people to hit them. But right now, with the cost of everything in the world, brands are actually seeing better conversion rate for some reason, charging shipping. But if you're going to give free shipping thresholds away, make sure it works with your audience and offer and different things like that. So remember, shipping costs, like, people don't realize that that's like $4 into your COGS. So you want to charge for shipping, but if you're going to give it away, actually look at the common order value versus average. Your average isn't really a true number. So there's a lot of insights into here that, like, we just don't have time to go through. But basically, the last way in which you can just improve an offer without hurting CPA and ads is by upselling them on a thank you page and in emails, by the way, guys. So like I said, exact same philosophy. 30-day purchase, push them to a 30-day subscription. 30-day one-time purchase, push them to a 90-day one-time purchase. Like, there's going to be offers that I can't tell you, oh yeah, this one will work. Like, it's really difficult. Offers can be, on a post-purchase standpoint, just give them more of what they bought. Give them something similar to add on for a discount, or try and incentivize them into like a more upfront cost sort of thing where they pay for 90 days worth of product. And that, remember, doesn't affect CPA. Okay. So if it costs me $40 to get Adam to buy from my site and he buys a $50 upsell, I basically got $50 worth of profit off the back of a $35 to $40 CAC, sorry. So think about that logically. It's not affecting front end metrics. You're getting more profitable just by upselling. So back to my point, people have been doing this for 20 to 30 years of funnels, and people in e-com are trying to reinvent the wheel when funnels still work the same way. You can still get upsells. You can still get offers. Copy matters. Social proof matters. Like, the fundamentals of e-commerce have not changed, and people are obsessing over the fancy techniques. So hopefully nobody was coming here expecting any fancy techniques, because this is all just the fundamentals, right? But the last thing, which is, if people want to stay or jump, does everyone have 5 more minutes? I can run through landers here because I know this was important.
Yeah, good. There's 2 small questions as well for you, just around subscriptions, Paddy, in the chat. Do you want me to call them out for you?
Yeah, I can see them here. Yeah, I mean, like, Eric, that's a pretty good question. Like, when you're upselling the 90-day subscription, it depends how the offer is incentivized, right? So if people are buying the 30-day subscription, they should be getting 30 days worth of product. Let's, I don't know if you guys know between like white hat and black hat. Like, I think you guys may, I'm not sure if you have all white hat clients, but if we're going for a 90-day subscription, usually what should happen is they get 90-day worth of product, right? Think about it logically. A massive churn problem is because people have too much product. So you have to find a balance between giving them loads up front and just giving them too much product where they basically churn and the brand only makes 90 days worth of money, really. So to give them more incentive to get a discount of 90 days, you probably want to just say to them, it's a fickly one. Like, if they're buying 90 days worth of product, you've got to completely change your positioning on the upsell to, oh, we can ship this to you every 90 days so you never run out. Or do you know what I mean? Like, the level of copy has to change for what you're trying to do. We're not trying to say, for someone who's already bought 90-day worth of product, oh, hey, like, here's more 90 days products. It's like, think about the positioning of what you're trying to achieve with the upsell. You're trying to push them to a subscription so you get them on the back of the LTV of 180 days, remember. So it's about thinking, what is your goal of this upsell? So if it's 90 days, you're probably not going to offer much more incentive, only the subscription incentive, whatever that percentage is. Some brands give more upfront, some brands don't. If it was me and we have 30 days of someone subscribed 30 days and we upsell them to 90, you do need to give them some little extra percentage off. But just remember that in 90 days time, you've just guaranteed yourself 90 days of LTV. So technically, if they resubscribe to the 90 days and it rebuilds, that's 180 days of LTV. So you've just tripled or doubled your LTV with one upsell. So it's about having just some sort of awareness as what is your goal behind this upsell. So hopefully that answered your question. And then the second question was, what about brands that do not have subscription at a very large price point? Products start $400 to $500 and can get into thousands. What kind of data can we look at with CRO to learn to acquire new customers? So you can sell anything with marketing. Like you can literally sell any, like I could convince you that you have a big enough problem to buy this candle. Like I could convince you, like your room smells of shit, like, you know, without like you working in the same room, like if you don't have any new smells, this can like really like help you focus. And I can sell you a candle, right? So it's like the fundamentals of selling a $400 to $500 product do not change. I have to convince you to some extent that you need this product, right? Has anyone ever heard of 8 Sleep? Has anyone ever heard of the 8 Sleep pods? Right. So I was shopping this. I haven't bought one yet, but I was shopping this and thinking like, why should I buy this? Right. And then this, you're getting to a level where this is $2,500, right? And $2,500 is just an obscene amount of money for a product in general. But what I think they're doing wrong is they should be dropping in stats of like, do you realize how long you sleep in your lifetime? Like, I think you sleep. Does anyone know the stat? I think it's like 60% of your life you spend sleeping or something ridiculous. Like you spend so much of your life sleeping. So it's like, if they were to actually sell me this product properly, because they're probably a big conglomerate, they should be dropping stats like, do you realize how long you sleep? Like, this is how it works. I actually think their page is quite confusing. I actually thought it was a bed you got. All you get is a fucking sheet over your bed. It's not even like anything extra apart from that. So to answer your question, it's like, do they understand what the product is, right? Simple as that. Do they understand what it is, right? If they understand what it is, what is their objection? So like the goal does not change here. You've got to understand through the basic thing I said at the start, which was the research. What's their pain points? What's the benefits of the product? But also what benefits matter to them? So how we change that is, what creatives are working? What angle is always working? What's the data that you have on your audience that we can take and apply to our copy on the page? So not every benefit matters. Like nobody cares about half the stuff you think they do. That's where the creative insight matters and your email insight, and you build a bank of the audience to say, oh, they love this. They don't really care about this. Like they really like this feature or this benefit. And that's how you stack importance of like copy and different things like that. So it's a very hard question to answer with one detail, but to acquire new customers, you need to really just genuinely understand what drives them to buy. What is the unique mechanism of the product? And if they just have shitloads of products, like we signed a brand there that sells car parts, right? Like genuine car parts. Like you could just turn around and say, well, but like, how are you going to convince someone to buy a spoiler for a car they don't have? It's like, I'm not. Like, we're going to sell them the thing that they need at that time. So how do you do that if you have thousands of products? This is where CRO just kind of expands into a whole nother facet of like, this is what I would call traditional CRO. Higher SKU count equals more discoverability and more searchability. So if your brand has 20 plus SKUs, you have to make it so fucking easy that they can find what they need really quickly. Does anyone know how we would do that? And my team, please do not answer. If we're if we're selling loads of products, how do we make it so easy that they find what they need whenever they need? What are some things that come to your mind? No wrong answers. I want everyone to send something into the chat here because this is important. Okay, search bar.
Showing other products on the PDP. Complementary products.
Adam, don't answer. I want your team to answer. You already know half of this shit. So Adam's team has to answer apart from me and Adam, right? And my team. I want Adam's team to answer, right? So if I have loads of products, no matter if it's high AOV, low AOV, I just have so many products. How do I make them find what they need or what matters? Like what really matters? So you can type it in, you can say it out loud, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so basically we're all on the right track, right? So with high SKU products, high SKU brands, let's take this car parts brand, right? I'm not going to go, I have an Audi, right? I'm not going to go and buy a fucking Volkswagen part, am I? I'm not going to go and buy a BMW part. If I'm going to buy a part, I am here for a reason to buy a part for a certain car, for a certain part of my car. I log to the website and I go straight to the search bar, or I go straight to the sorting, or I go straight to the filtering, or I go straight to the collections page and toggle my search for me to find what I need. So what brands neglect when you have a high SKU count, clothing, clothing's probably the easiest to actually use as an example here. Type of product, okay, so filtering on collection pages. People forget that you literally can't, you need filters. Create your sizing, your color, your type of product, your fit, your material, whatever it is that matters to that brand and that product. The second thing then is search bar. So Adam said it, and that's why I didn't want to speak. Search bar, right? Your search bar has to be so easy to just get someone to where they need to go to and buy. Remember, some people are just ready to buy. Okay, so improve your search bar. Make it easy to, someone mentioned keywords there, like tags, everything like that. I should just be able to look up t-shirt and find it. Does everyone realize that you can go on Shopify and do a search report? And Shopify tells you the top searched words on Shopify. And that alone can give you insights into what are people searching for and can they not find it. So little things like that. Collections pages are great, but remember, within collections pages and PDPs, you need to be able to get around really quickly. So like someone mentioned it there, like you may also likes or collection banners, or if I'm on a collection page, I should be able to bounce to another collection page really quickly. So to answer your question, Dean, or Eric, sorry, in this long-winded sort of answer, when it gets into these types of products, there's so many other fundamentals that matter before you start building landing pages. But at the same time, if I land to a $300 hoodie and I don't know what the size of the person's wearing, or I can't compare myself as a medium to someone else as a medium or large, then I can't see what it looks like visually and see what it fits. So it's a visual shopping experience. I'm not going to buy. Doesn't matter how well you've explained it or how good it is. So with every brand and with every type of sort of AOV and SKU count, different things matter, right? So hopefully that answered your question. Does anyone else have anything else?
Don't be shy, guys.
May as well get me while you have me.
Yeah, like I have a few notes written down here, like even the VO, like the voice of customer audit, like everyone on our team, guys, we can all do that. Like, you know what I mean? Just asking the client for the reviews, or even just exporting them yourselves from whatever review platform they're using. Like I know we've kind of done that previously as well. Even things around like the site speed point Paddy was mentioning as well. Like just because we're looking at like, you know, email, SMS retention, like it doesn't mean that we can't comment on this stuff as well to clients. Like I know some of us are quite good for doing that as well. The last thing I kind of wrote down as well is like recipe books and PDFs. So like guys, if we're trying to like help our clients increase their subscription take rate or just even improve their retention altogether, they might not want to give free product, let's say with the first order, or even like the third order. We can still suggest to them like that we can do, you know, digital gifts like PDFs, as Paddy said, even if it's a supplement, like a guide on how to take the supplement, like, you know, the list goes on.
Just make sure on PDFs, guys, and digital guides that it complements the product they're consuming or complements the issue they're facing. So people just throw on random shit Like make sure it complements that. And also remember, don't hide this stuff in emails, because if they don't know they're going to get it on the front end, on the site, then it will not improve the acquisition. And Adam mentioned something there, and I said this to my team earlier, literally on a call. I call it T-shaped marketers, right? Your email, you need to know CRO, creatives, ads. We're CRO, we need to know email, creatives, ads. So we all, as agencies, need to be T-shaped marketers, where a client asks us a creative question. We don't, no, I'm not sure. Like, we need to be able to fire off answers to anything they need. And if we don't know the answer, we go and find it. And like, I think that's why we're all so good working together, is like, we need to be able to help each other out with all of this. So as Adam said, like, if your clients have site speed issues, like, just pass them to us. If we've email issues, we throw them to you anyways. But I think it's things like this that matter the most. And like, this is the last thing. Let's just end on this, right? Best performing emails can be fundamentally pushed into CRO. You guys know enough about this audience. And what I would recommend, if you all run a client right now, you go and you export all of their reviews, you export all of their post-purchase surveys. If they do not have one set up, they download Zigpool, which is cheap. I think they have a free plan. No Commerce does, but they're a bit more expensive. Zigpool is great because they can pull AI insights. Download Zigpool, set up a couple questions, push it live. Literally that easy. Get literal insights from new people who've just paid and also returning, right? Take that into your brain. We built like a CRO brain per audience. You guys should try and build something. I think you kind of do, but just keep this in mind. If you're writing copy for your audience and your brands, insights from creatives, insights from CRO, surveys, reviews, all the stuff you have from winning past emails, that's a brain and bank of knowledge on an audience and product and brand that you can utilize for everything. I think we all need to be obsessed over who are we trying to convert and what matters to them, not our opinions. I always say to my team, like, opinions are valid, but don't let opinions be biased off what you believe is good. Let the audience tell us what matters to them. So different things like that. And the last point, I actually want to do this because this is a funny one. Reduce pop-ups on landers. This is a really interesting one that I think is relevant to all of you guys. Reduce pop-ups first loading on landers, not site. I don't really care as much about site. I think site, you should have a delayed pop-up. It actually should be something you test versus conversion rate on site. But on landing pages, remember that is paid spend. And with paid spend, we want to get them to load the lander, see everything, and then sign up, or then catch them on the site. So if you're ever doing things like that, try and not have the pop-ups to load first on landers. And that is genuinely a way in which you can improve brand metrics for acquisition. Now, you guys have to be careful with how you word that, because they would say, oh, but like list signups worse this month and all this bullshit. And it's like, if you're going to do something like that, like, educate them on why you're seeing that can be better. And then it's something that you can test. Okay. So just something for you guys to bring to your clients and maybe help them be that sort of, give them those sort of insights. But I'll send this document to you all. I'll send you a couple of things. Like, we've got some prompts on like voice of customer. Me and Kirsty can put that together for you. And yeah, guys, hopefully you got something from this. It's very difficult for me to bake CRO into fucking 55 minutes of education, but yeah, there's so much changing right now. It's one of those things that it's never one thing fits everyone. It's just like, look at your audience first, look at the niche first, and then try and go based off like high SKU, low SKU, niche product they're selling, and just try and create that experience for that type of customer. All right.
Good stuff, Paddy. Thanks so much for yourself and the team for taking the time. Guys, to pay Paddy and his team back, we need to send him some more clients. So anyone who needs some CRO help, you know where they need to go.
CRO, landers, website speed, themes, ping me and Kirsty and we'll rinse them. Or no, we'll not rinse them.
Good stuff. That was great. I took a lot of value from that anyway. Hopefully you guys found that useful.
You're next, Adam. But listen, guys, we can do this on a monthly or so basis. And I think it's hard for the first one. Bring certain questions, or listen, let's create a Slack channel. Create a Slack channel with the two teams. And if you have any CRO questions, ping it in. If we have any email questions, we'll ping it in. I don't see a problem with that at all. I actually think that'll be beneficial to both of us.
Good stuff. We'll get it done. I'll set that up.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All the best. Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.